Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. In this video I'm gonna show you the all new Canon C70. I've tested the camera extensively and will tell you which things are good and which things are bad. So coming up. Hi guys, my name is Paul, I'm a German filmmaker and this channel is all about filmmaking, gear reviews, but also DaVinci Resolve tutorials. So if that's something that you're interested in, consider subscribe, I would really appreciate that. Seriously, I really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel because it's a lot of work and yeah, obviously some of you like the content, so please make sure to subscribe that you don't miss any of the upcoming content. So Canon did send me the C70 for testing. Unfortunately it's a pre-production model, so I can't show you any footage, but I tested it and compared it with the Blackmagic Pocket in different scenarios, so I will tell you my honest opinion on the camera. There are a few very good things, but are also a few things that I don't like about this camera. So starting off, the build quality, or yeah, the overall camera itself, it's more or less shaped pretty similar to the Canon 1DX. It's not as high as the Canon 1DX and it's a little bit lighter, so around 100 grams. So it's perfectly actually for mounting it on a gimbal or a glide cam, because I'm very used to that weight because I've used the 1DX before, but obviously the C70 is a proper cinema camera, and because most of you already asked me that, no, the camera doesn't overheat. I already tested that and it has no recording limit since it's a proper cinema camera. The C70 is the first cinema camera from Canon which features the RF mount, and that's pretty great because due to the short flange distance you can actually mount and adapt as many lenses as you want to it. Canon also built a speed booster to adapt EF lenses to the camera, and that speed booster will reduce the crop factor, which is normally around 1.5 because it's a super 35mm sensor, to full frame. So if you're gonna using EF lenses, you're gonna be happy to hear that. So the camera also has 10 stops of internal NDs. That's really great because you don't need to worry about mounting external NDs, and also, which is really great, the ND filters don't have any color shifts at all. So I'm really glad that Canon managed to put all these things that you would expect from a cinema camera into the small body. Speaking of the small body, Canon also managed to put in some XLR features, so it has mini XLR, same as the Blackmagic Pocket. And I've tested the sound and it sounds really great. So the camera has great preamps, so it's perfectly designed actually for recording interviews and stuff like that. Canon also has a lot of connections like full-size HDMI. Unfortunately no SDI, but I think you can get away with it. It also has timecode and all the other good things, and it has a lot of customizable buttons as all the other C-series cameras, so you get you have good control over the camera because it has great physics and it feels really great in the hand, I would say. The C70 is powered by BP30 or BP60 battery, same as Canon C200, and with the BP30 battery I got around 2 hours of runtime, which is pretty great, I would say. The camera also features a swivel screen, I think it's the word, and that's pretty great because also you can use it for vlogging, all that kind of stuff. But it's really great to have this swivel screen because you can use it in many scenarios as you want to. Really great that Canon implemented that, but the camera has no EVF. So that's the downside of that. Let's quickly talk about the mounting options. The Canon C70 has on the side a mounting option, which is really great because that way you can easily attach it to a tripod and can record vertical video. Pretty handy. On the bottom you have 3 holes for mounting it to a tripod. In the middle it has the bigger hole, and on the right and on the left it has the, yeah, I would say the normal holes for tripod screws and all the things like that. That's something that I really don't understand and that I don't really like, because I was not able to get a proper balance with the C70 on the Ronin S, because it was either too heavy to the right side or to the left side, depending on which hole I used. So if it would have had the correct hole in the middle, yeah, that would have been no problem to proper balance it, but that way I wasn't able to. So I was able to get it balanced on the glide cam and it worked out pretty well. But I think, yeah, using a cage for this camera is, yeah, because it's the shape of the camera is already so great and everything is already built in. So I personally don't want to make it bigger as it is. Yeah, and now you need to something like an offset plate or something like that. So I personally don't like that Canon did that, and I hope for the full production model they're gonna change that. So let's talk about media. The Canon C70 rides on 2 SD cards, which I really like. Be aware of that you will need V90 cards. These cards can be fairly expensive. I will link some down below. I only had V30 cards and the Canon gave me some warnings that it couldn't write properly. However, I didn't have any issues for 30p, 60p, only in 4K 120. The camera stopped recording because of the card wasn't fast enough. So if you want to use that, so make sure to use V90 cards. As said, I will link them down below for you. But really great that we have 2 SD cards here, because you have as many options as you want to. You can program it to that the camera will start recording to the second SD card when the first one is full. You can record proxies to the second one or a backup. So that's really great. Let's talk about low-light performance. I tested that camera together with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. And I can honestly say that you can get an usable image up to ISO 6400. Above that, I would really recommend you to use like noise reduction. It was kind of very similar to the Blackmagic Pocket. I think it's a fairly good result, but I've seen in the internet way better results than what I've got. But yeah, let's talk about the video autofocus. Canon is very famous for that. It has one of the best, if not the best, video autofocus of all cameras, and the C70 is no exception. It doesn't have all the autofocus features like the R6 and R5 have, so animal detection and all that kind of stuff. But we've tested it with the RF 24-105 and with the Tamron 24-70 and the RF to EF adapter. I wanted to use third-party lens because I wanted to see how the camera performs, and I was pleasantly surprised how the camera was tracking the head, and it was a very natural focus rec that the camera did. So yeah, I really like the autofocus performance. It's really great on the C70. However, I also have tested that in low light, and in low light the camera was struggling finding focus here and there. So yeah, but hopefully that's gonna be improved via a firmware update. Let's talk about the menu, and I've already said that the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera has the best menu of all cinema cameras, or actually of all cameras that exist out there. I think the C70 is kind of the same as you've seen in the C200, because it has this really huge menu that you can dial through, but it also features a touch menu which you can access from the main screen, where you have the most frequently used features like color matrix, or like the resolution that you want to record on. So really handy about that. I really like that you can use their touchscreen, but when you are in the normal menu, in the big menu, you can't use the touchscreen anymore. So it's kind of only partial touch screen, I would say. So let's talk about dynamic range, and if you're following this channel along, you might have seen that I've tested the Blackmagic Pocket against so many other cameras, and I've already tested that against the Canon C200. And yeah, I was really surprised how well the Blackmagic does in dynamic range, because it outperformed the C200 for my test, it outperformed the Zcam E2 F6. So I was really curious, because the Canon C70 claims that it has 16 stops of dynamic range, and I did a high dynamic range test, and yeah, the camera has an edge in the highlight but also as well in the shadows. So the dynamic range of the C70 is really exceptional. So, and that also leads me to overall image quality. As you know, the Canon color science is great, and the C70 is no exception here. The image quality that comes out of the C70 is phenomenal, and it is way above its price point, I would say, because it features the same sensor from the C300 Mark III, which cost like double the price. So the image quality of this camera is exceptional, and I think also overall colors and are way better than on the Blackmagic Pocket. Let's talk about codecs, and that's something that I was not really a huge fan of. Also with the other cinema cameras from Canon. So when you're recording up to 30p, you get an XFAVC file, which is 10-bit 422. That one is really great because you have a lot of it's an all-I codec, so you have a lot of data to play around with, and it's a really solid codec, and also editing this footage was fairly easy. But if you want to record in 50p, 60p or anything above, the camera uses an IBB compression, which is a more compressed file, and that's also H.265. And I personally had a really hard time to play that back and also edit it on my maxed out 2019 iMac. So unfortunately that's almost the same as on the EOS R6. On the EOS R6 it's a little bit worse. I'm recording on the EOS R6 right now. But yeah, I think that's something codecs, it's something I never really liked about Canon cinema cameras. Let's talk about slow motion. So also the C70 does 4K at up to 120 frames per second, full sensor readout. And you can actually get it full frame if you use the speed booster, and it also can record 2K and up to 180 frames per second, but then it crops into around the Super 16 crop, so I think it's like 2.2 times from full frame. So the 2K 180 looks quite good actually, but the 4K 120 looks outstanding. So really great job that Canon implemented that right here. So let's come to a final conclusion. What do I think about the camera, and also will I sell my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera? No, I think I really like the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera for my production, for my commercial work. I think the C70 is the perfect camera, the perfect run and gun camera, and if you want to have like a really cinematic image, so let's say for weddings, events, stuff like that. But for proper productions where you need better codecs, therefore I think the camera is not really a great fit for, at least in my opinion. But you can actually use it for that because it has proper audio support and all that kinds of stuff. So bottom line, I think Canon has designed an amazing camera with an amazing and an exceptional dynamic range, great image quality, great preamps and all that kind of stuff. But there are also a few things that I didn't like about this camera, and that's what I want to talk to you now. As I've already said, the mounting screws with the camera isn't ideal, I would say, and also the flip out screen, which is really great that they've implemented that, but I was shooting mainly on overcast days, so it was not sunny, and I had a hard time seeing what's going on the screen, so the screen is not very bright. And that leads me to the conclusion that you actually need to properly use it outside because you don't have an EVF. You need an external monitor, and that would make the camera bigger, and that's kind of defeats the purpose on having a small DSLR body-sized cinema camera. So yeah, I think you should test out that for yourself. If you want to buy this camera, maybe Canon will improve that for the final version. I'm not sure just yet. But I think anyway, if your only concern is image quality, the camera has you covered. It has great autofocus, great low light. Yeah, actually it's a pretty damn good camera. So in the next upcoming videos, I'm also gonna test the EOS R6, which I'm recording on right now, so stay tuned for that. And I also got the Komodo coming here in a few weeks, hopefully. I only need to get batteries, so also stay tuned for that. And I still owe you the Zcam E2 F6 comparison against the Red Dragon, which is also coming soon. So stay tuned for that. I hope you guys liked it. If you did so, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and I'm gonna see you in my very next video. Cheers!